Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Good evening, everyone. You know what time it is. 8 p.m. Eastern. Keep it in the ring. Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Welcome in, everyone. As always, I'm Rich Mancuso, live on my YouTube channel. Let me fix this headset. There we go. Whatever. As long as you can hear me, who cares? You want to see my face? Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, Rich Mancuso, String Punk Entertainment, AGT Network, like the Keep It in the Ring page, and of course, Tommy D, Sports Talk. He'll be with me in a moment, my esteemed colleague and now co-host of this program each and every week on YouTube. So, my social media, as always, X, Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, also on Instagram, and read my content on Latinosports.com and other venues. That boxing schedule scrolled at the bottom of the screen. We're not in a very busy time for the sport right now. However, it picks up in a week and going into June and July. Going to be busy. Of course, we'll have it all for you here on the program. But in the hour ahead, we want you to like, we want you to comment, subscribe to the channel, but comment as we go along. Tommy D and I will get to as many of his comments as possible. The hour ahead, it's going to be fast, and we have a lot of information, even though it's been a dull time with the sport the last couple of weeks. Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Bud Crawford, that mega fight, where and when, that's what we have to look at. There are some complications with it. We'll get to that this hour. Tom and I will do something different this week. We're going to go over our top 10 pound-per-pound fighters as of today. He has his take on it, so do I. We'll go into that. And then, of course, Steve Serby. I'm looking forward to this. An old colleague of mine, New York Post, still a colleague of mine with the New York Post, an esteemed writer, columnist for the Post, and he's a boxing buff. And we're going to go over some nostalgia, some picks together. I think you're going to enjoy that. The wrestling segment, Robbie Rebel, the Rebel Lance, later in the hour. WWE coming up, Saturday Night Main Event Saturday, getting ready for Money in the Bank. A lot going on there with Rollins. Is he adding to his stable? Of course, there's also a lot going on with where's Cody Rhodes been? And WrestleMania is moving next year from New Orleans to Las Vegas. We'll go into details about that. AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view on Sunday. Looks like a good one. We'll have our nostalgia, much more. Fact of the week, it's Keeping in the Ring. Let's get this going. Let's first look at September 13th. That's Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford. This is the fight that's anticipated. This is the fight that is on the calendar still, and it's the mega fight of the year and going to be a big one, as you know. You know the facts. You know the history of these two great fighters in the sport. Pound for pound, definitely discussed as among the best. But according to reports the last few days, Las Vegas T-Mobile Arena was supposed to be the venue. It may not be definite at this point. There's a hold on that. Possibly this fight will be moved and the entire card to New York City. Venue undetermined, if so. And if it was in New York, you'd think in Madison Square Garden or the Barclays Center. You know, Canelo likes to fight in big arenas, in big settings. Crawford, it doesn't matter where he fights. However, Texas is also being looked as a venue, AT&T Stadium. The reason behind all this, logistics, of course, the Turk guy says the promotion seller in the Riyadh season is involved with this, but they are not licensed to promote in the United States. That's a major complication, according to the reports. Dana White is involved with this, of course, with the Turk guy and TKO, their new venture in boxing league. And that is also part of the logistics and complications to all of this. We don't know, as of now, where the venue will be. We don't know where it will be streamed as well. It could be screened by subscription via payperview.com, a great outlet that I watch all pay-per-view events on when it comes to boxing and combat sports. Regardless of all the logistics and the complications that have surfaced because of this, the fight will still happen. There has been no detail or indication that Canelo Alvarez and Terence Bud Crawford will not fight. This has been a fight in the making, discussed, and has supposedly been made, and will decide supremacy among two of the best in boxing. For years, Canelo Alvarez has established his legacy as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He is the face of the sport. As far as Terence Bud Crawford, many would say he is indeed number one. And me and Tom will go into this in a moment more about where they stand as far as top 10 pound for pound. It is a fight that fans wanted to see. And again, a fight that has been in demand and will do very well streamed on pay-per-view. Wherever it takes place, it's bound to sell out. Whoever carries the stream on pay-per-view should do good numbers. Won't do mega numbers because pay-per-view in boxing doesn't go big number route no more. Streaming networks have taken over. Pay-per-view industry basically is dying very much a slow death, as I say. However, Canelo Alvarez wants to continue his legacy on September 13th, and Terence Bud Crawford, of course, wants to continue to be known as the best pound-for-pound, if not all-time greatest fighter that's ever lived on this planet. That will be determined on September 13th, as also Terence Bud Crawford, at a champion at 154, a unified champ in the four-belt area. Crawford is moving up 2 weights to go to 168. And in the weeks and months ahead, before we reach September 13th, wherever this fight is going to take place, wherever it will be streamed, we will finally determine on September 13th who indeed is the best fighter, Canelo Alvarez or Terence Bud Crawford. I can't tell you right now who would win it, but the odds makers in Vegas have already said Crawford will win and defeat Canelo Alvarez. Too early to tell. Let's see what happens, because remember, we are still in the month of May, and Canelo Alvarez will fight again, and that next fight will be in September against Terence Bud Crawford. We'll keep you posted on that, as we always do, along with all the other boxing sources of information you may have. But here at Keep It in the Ring, we're on this. We'll let you know. Okay, so boxing is on a brief holiday from major cards. We've had an awfully good year so far, the first 6 months of 2025. Of course, it resumes next Saturday. Prime Video PBC, the interim WBA super middleweight title holder, Salih Plant, against the Mexican K-art artist Armando Rezinez, undefeated 2-division champion, and Jamal Charlo and Thomas Lamana. That will be Amanda Lloyd Bay in Las Vegas. Again, Prime Video next week. And then we move into June. And June's going to be very, very busy. We're going to have a big fight in New York. It's going to be Gambosis on the card against Richardson Hitchens for Hitchinson title of 140. And then we move more in June. And then we go into July. And that's going to be a mega month for the sport that boxing fans are looking and anticipating too. All right, time to discuss something that we debate often as boxing fans, and even those who are involved in the sport as writers, broadcasters, but the fans love to do this. And I do from time to time, though I'm not much of a fan about it, but heck, we have to. We get caught up in all of this all the time. Let me bring in my esteemed colleague and good friend, Tommy D from TD Sports Talk, who helps me with this program every week. And Tommy, come on in, Tom. And there you are. How you doing, my friend? Well, first of all, we can't hear you.
Hey, Rich, how you doing? How's everything?
Oh, there you are. Again, you went mute on me.
Yeah, I know.
I tell you never to go mute on me, my friend.
I get everything else right for everybody else, but when it comes to me, I can't get it right.
No, you get it right because I can't get it right, and I can't do this program without you. So you get it right, all right? Tom, let's keep it in the ring. Let's continue because we have a dull week, 2 weeks in the sport. There are some fights we're going to go over after we do this, though, because that debate that discussion all the time. Who top 10 pound for pound fighters right now? And fans, we want you to comment as we go along. And what is your opinion on this? I am going to go over my top 10 one by one. I'll do it. Tom will give his opinion on it. And then let's see what you think. So comment in the section here at Keep It in the Ring on my YouTube channel live here, Rich Mancuso. Tom, let's go and let's get the debate going. Because you might have a different perspective on what number one in my rankings, top pound for pound right now, because he does it all. And he's going to retire probably as one of the best heavyweight champions that ever lived, that's ever been in that ring, Alexander Usyk. He's got Daniel Dubois next for his IBF title. Dubois, the IBF champ. That's the only thing that's not making Usyk the unified champ. He's my number one. What do you think, Tom? Who is yours?
My number one, it's tough. I don't do pound for pounds that often because it's very hard and it's it's subjective and sometimes. So I think Usyk is definitely top three. Sometimes it's hard to put a heavyweight in number one as a pound for pound guy because heavyweights is the cream of the crop and they're the best. It's the top division in all of boxing. And they can beat anybody. They can beat anybody underneath them, right? The heavyweights, they beat. So, like when you talk about pound for pound, Usyk is an exception because he came from cruiserweight, and he was undisputed down there. So him moving up in weight, I would say definitely top three pound for pound guy is Usyk.
I got him number one. Let's see if he prevails now over Daniel Dubois. That's coming up. And indeed he does. There's no doubt he's number one. He's made a legacy for himself. And he never avoids who comes to him. And he's had that title now, both of the titles for a while. Of course, he beat Tyson Fury as well to get that distinction. Number two on my list, and I'm not going from 10 to 1. I'm going 1 through 10. That's how I decided to do this. There he is, the great Inoue from Japan. 30-0, 27 knockouts, super bantamweight champ with Top Rank. That's his promoter. He's just coming off a great 8th-round knockout over Ramon Cardenas. But he says he's moving up in weight. But, Tom, he's my number two.
It's not a bad number two. I think he's definitely 1 or 2. I have him number 1 because he's been the most active of the guys on this list or on the list that I like or I have, right? Because he's been more active than, let's say, a guy. Well, when we get to him, we'll mention him, but he's been fighting. Now it's hard to gauge because he's fighting guys we don't really know about at those smaller weights and the bantamweight and the super bantamweights. We don't really know these guys, so it's hard to gauge the talent like we would gauge the talent better at welterweight and maybe cruiserweight and heavyweight. So, but definitely in a way, he's exciting to watch. He puts on great performances.
Knockout artist extraordinaire, exciting fighter. And you made a good point just now, Tom. We don't know a lot of the opponents he faces because there's a division here and mostly in Japan. We don't know much about those guys. You got to look them up. Even the best of boxing people like us have to look up who he fights. But there's no doubt about it. He's in the top 3. He could be number 1 by many, but I got him at number 3. Moving on, number 4. And I always loved him because he's a technician in the ring, and he proves it time and time again. We're talking about the light heavyweight champion. Now, number 3 is not there. Well, I was jumping ahead. I'm talking about this guy. He's another one. Number 3 to me is Terrence Crawford. We just mentioned it. I was jumping ahead. Excuse me, my bad on that. 154. He moves up from 147. Now he's got Canelo coming up in September. It's very debatable, though, if you put Terrence Crawford as number 3 top pound per pound. What do you think?
I think if you want to go of all the fighters and who's the best fighter pound for pound in boxing or on the planet, Terrence Crawford is number 1. But it's hard for me to put him number 1 on my list because he hasn't fought. He hasn't fought.
That's another thing when you do this because you look at that. A good point again, Tom, because inactivity hasn't fought maybe once, twice a year. And that has a lot of bearing in doing top 10 pound for pound. It does.
It's like you're holding the list hostage. I mean, we know his talent. We know how good he really is. Well, let's not say good, how great he is. And I definitely think he's the number 1 best fighter on the planet. But he's been active, so we don't know. We can't gauge on where he's at on the list until he gets that fight with Canelo. Then after that fight, he'll immediately be ranked on the top pound for pound. And if
Probably
he beats
top.
Canelo, he's number one by a long shot.
Right. And of course, his legacy will always be remembered a few years ago when he unified the titles at 147 with Errol Spence Jr., and we haven't seen Spence Jr. since then. So that's what everybody's going to remember right now about Terrence Bud Crawford, but they might remember even more come September if he indeed defeats Canelo Alvarez. So now we go to number 4. This is where I was talking about the technician, Demetrio Bivol, the light heavyweight champ, unified, lost to Beterbiev, regained the title back, maybe headed to a trilogy with Beterbiev. There is talk about that, but Demetrio Bivol on my list, number 4. The technician, that's the word I have for him. Technical is the best what boxing brings.
I can't disagree with you about this. I mean, I had this spot slated for either him or Beterbiev, and you're only as good as your last fight or your last match with the opponent. So Bivol won. He got the nod, even though I thought it was a little controversial. I thought Beterbiev won, but either way, he definitely deserves a spot. I like him at number 4.
Will he get David Benavidez? Benavidez is looking for him.
I think I think it deserves. We deserve to see a third match and just put it to rest, and the rubber match. That's what we would say.
Trilogy, a trilogy maybe by the end of the year with Demetrio Bivol and Arturo Beterbiev. But for now, ranked top pound for pound on my list, number 4, and you tend to agree with that. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with this. All
right. So far, so good. No debates with Tom on this one, really. All right. Number 5 on my list, and we just mentioned him. He's moved down considerably from being number 1 for the longest. Canelo Alvarez. His wins over Edgar Berlanga, Jaime Munguia. Okay. Of course, Munguia took him to almost the limit. Berlanga did, surprisingly. Again, the legacy can continue if he defeats Crawford in September. He did regain the IBF titles, got them all now, again at 168 against William Skull. Number 5 to me, Tom, and that's only because he hasn't fought really the tough competition, this despite getting the IBF belt back and got them all the belts now with William Skull.
Yeah, I don't have no problem with this. I think now we're talking about guys where it could be kind of selective to your opinion of to who you like. I think Canelo is good. I think Canelo is a top 10 pound for pound guy. He's been in the sport a long time. He's the moneymaker of the fight. He's the draw. He's sort of, what they would, I guess he's kind of the face of boxing. I personally don't think there really is a true face of boxing, but he's as close as it gets. Like people.
Well, why they call him the face is because he draws all the time.
Yes.
Sells out every arena, but he's also this pay-per-view king. Every time Canelo Alvarez is on pay-per-view, he draws big numbers, and the promoters want him. That's why he's his own boss. He's able to go where he wants to go. But, I haven't been impressed with him as of late. Even though he's been active, he commits to doing 2 fights a year in May and September. He always does, keeps that commitment. But to me, he's not that 1, 2, 3 top guy anymore.
No, he's definitely not. He's been on the decline. He's fought some opponents that I didn't think were as worthy. I thought Berlanga didn't really deserve an opportunity to fight him, neither, but he got the fight. He beat him pretty much convincingly, won almost every round. Munguia was a good challenge, but I feel like he took his foot off the gas against Munguia. So, he hasn't really, and then his last fight was kind of a stinker, like both guys, didn't
as dull as could be against William Skull on that big boxing weekend of a few weeks ago in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I agree. All right, go to number 6 on my list. What do you think? Gervonta Davis, the controversial ending with Lamont Roach. And a rematch, as you put that up, Tom, it's been reported August 16th, the PBC Prime Video, Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis will have that rematch after their controversial first fight a few months back. Going to be at the T-Mobile Arena, reportedly in Las Vegas for that WBA lightweight title. Gervonta Davis could be number 6, could be even up on higher on the poll, and some say not even worthy of top 10. What do you think?
Once again, I think now we're talking about guys like it's pretty much your opinion. I think he deserves to be pound for pound top 10. I think he needs this rematch. He needs more than anything to prove the doubt is wrong. I thought he lost this fight, and he got the decision in a close fight. There was some controversy in this fight with the knockdown, but he's still nonetheless undefeated guy. He's another big draw in the boxing game. You know, he sells out in arenas every time he fights. He sold out the Barclays. You know, so I mean, I don't think there'll be any different in Las Vegas. You know, he has a huge fan base. So I don't disagree with this. I tend to agree. I would put him number 6.
Okay, Tom. And I'm glad they're having the rematch, and it's not going to take another year to see it. Gervonta could have went other ways, but he wanted this, and of course Lamont Roach wanted it as well. He's worthy of it, and we'll see where Gervonta goes after their rematch, reportedly again. That's going to happen in a couple of months. All right. Number 7 on my list, Tom, and we're getting some comments as we go along. If you want to read them, please do, Tom. I don't see them as good as you do. There he is, Arturo Benavidez. We just talked about him. The knockout streak has been ended with Bivol. Of course, the second fight. But Benavidez is still in that top 10 list to me.
Yeah, this is good. I think this is a good spot to have him. Beterbiev, Bivol, you could flip a coin in which spots depending on who wins the trilogy. Definitely pound for pound guys. Beterbiev, former undisputed, right, winning the first matchup. So now Bivol. So let's see. I like this. Hopefully they get the trilogy. He's not getting any younger. He's up there in age. So, but I agree. He's fun to watch. He's a pressure fighter. He comes in there. He stops.
Fans love knockout artists, and he can do it, but he didn't do it against Bivol in their second fight.
Yep, he did. He didn't. I mean, every guy before Bivol, he stopped. So, let's see. I like him in this spot. I think this is good. This is between him and Bivol. Both good, solid pound for pound guys.
We'll wait to see if they have that trilogy by the end of the year. 8th on my list, top pound for pound, Tom, Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez, the WBC super flyweight champ, 21-0, 14 knockouts. Next fight opposing the undefeated WBO flyweight champ, Cafu, unification in Fresno, Texas. Who Diego Pacheco on that card as well with McKirby. Of course, the super middleweights will be highlighted that night. But here's a guy, though, Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez, who doesn't get the acclaim that he deserves. He is this is a fighter in that lower weight class that has speed. Love his footwork. I love footwork on every fighter. And he's got some power, too. And I love the way he fights inside. So a good deserving for me, the number 8. And possibly could be even up higher than that, but I got him at number 8, Tom.
I think it's a good spot to have him, the bottom 5. Very exciting to watch. He's an up-and-coming superstar, in my opinion. He's only going to get better. And, he's going to, hopefully move up in weight and get, tougher challenges. But, yeah, Bam Bam definitely deserves to be in the top pound-for-pound list. And I think you got him in the perfect spot right now. I mean, there's another guy that I would have ranked higher than a few of these guys. We haven't got to him yet on your list, but when we get to him, we'll talk about it. But definitely,
we will. I'm going to go over that.
Yeah, he definitely deserves.
Yeah. Number 9, David Benavidez on my list is the 9th pound per pound. This win over Morrell with the power that he has. No Canelo Alvarez in sight. A lot of talk about that, no more. But there's a lot of options for David Benavidez. The WBC champ, maybe. He might be looking at Bivol or Beterbiev. What do you think?
This is the guy I was referring to. I think he probably could be a little bit higher on this list. He's the real boogeyman. Like, nobody seems to really want to fight this guy. Specifically, a guy you have ranked higher than him in Canelo Alvarez. Canelo wants no part of this guy. He didn't want any parts of him, and therefore I think Canelo should be kind of subtracted down the list because of that. And Benavidez Benavidez should move up.
The one thing about him
is definitely
the power. We just have to find out who he's going to get next. And finally, Tom, Shakur Stevenson, number 10, WBC lightweight champ. William Zapata in New York coming up on that super card, July 12th, Louis Armstrong Stadium in Flushing, New York. Shakur, last few fights have been terribly boring. This had not been Shakur that he was as a lightweight champ. Number 10 to me, some say not even a top 10. What do you think?
It's selective. I think it's fine. I have no problem with this. He's undefeated. He's a world champion. He's a unified champion. Multiple weight classes. You know, he's got more accomplishments than, let's say, Tank Davis, who's on this list a little bit higher. You know, that's the fight we want to see in the future. We want to see him and Tank. But yeah, you're sometimes you're only as good as your last performance. His last performance was pretty good against a guy that's, you know, not really well known. But nevertheless, I think he deserves to be in the top 10. If you have him at 10, I have no problem with that. I think this is going to be a statement fight for him coming up here.
It will be against Zapata, who is they're anticipating each other come July 12th. All right. You know, we didn't talk about some fighters that could have made this list, including Jerome Boutsenis, fresh off his win at 147. Eddie Hearn don't want him to go to 154, but Ennis could be in that top 10. Teofimo Lopez with the Barboza Jr. win in Times Square a few weeks ago. That wasn't the greatest fight in the world. The whole card was a dull, as we know. So, you know, this is subject to debate. Do you have any others that might have been fit in there briefly?
I think Boutsenis should probably be on this top to 10 for sure. I think he's definitely a problem. I think he's the best at 147, you know, so we don't really have a representative in welterweight. Boutsenis is definitely the number one guy, so I definitely think he deserves to be in the pound for pound list. Devin Haney is another guy, honorary votes. He's still undefeated because the fight with Ryan does not count. They you know, because he popped dirty. So Devin Haney, another undefeated guy, now fighting at welterweight as well.
Right.
So yeah, those are two guys not in the top pound for pound that I probably could maybe find a spot in there over a couple guys, but you know, let's see how it plays out. I think we need to see how it plays out with a couple of these guys.
Again, it's always debatable. It's debatable. Top 10 pound for pound. I don't like doing it, but it's always a discussion with fans and the boxing people. And we just did it
like to talk about.
And we didn't disagree that much. Good, which is even better. All right, Tom, we'll move on. Jamon Charlo, Keith Thurman. It doesn't look like Thurman's going to get to Zoo in Australia like he told us on the program a few weeks back. And we don't know who Thurman's committed to next. But looks like Charlo Thurman and not Thurman to Zoo. So that came up, and it's official. Mario Barrios, Manny Pacquiao. It's all official for Barrios' 147-pound title, July 19th, Las Vegas. Why Manny Pacquiao's coming out of retirement? It's a risk to me. He hasn't fought in 4 years. He's got a legacy, Hall of Famer. Doesn't need the money. The skills aren't going to be the same, but we're going to see him again. The 8th division and only 8th division champion in boxing history.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I think you know, the person that really shouldn't like it, but you know, he's loving it, he's probably getting paid for it, is Barrios. I mean, Barrios should be pretty much disrespected because he chose him and he wants to fight Barrios, meaning therefore he's trying to tell him that he's the weakest guy at the division that has the title. That's how. But
you know, the other thing about this, real quick, is that Pacquiao's not even ranked.
Not even ranked. They just put him in the rank. They just
put him in because his name is Manny Pacquiao. I can respect him and not respect him for that. I don't know, but that's boxing. That's how it goes.
The guy looked terrible in his last fight against Ugas.
Yeah, against Ugas. That was it. He retired. But then fighters say they're going to retire, as they always say, and they come back. They always do. Let's just hope that he gets through this without any punishment and he's okay. All right, Tom, I'm going to take you out of the box for a moment, bring you back. Right now, special guest on the program, waiting patiently, and he's a colleague of mine for almost 40 years. He's a columnist with the New York Post, and you catch his columns. He's more known for his football savvy. He's up on par with the NFL. He is a beat writer for the New York Post with the New York teams and the NFL in general. Steve Serby, you there, my friend?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Thanks for waiting impatiently. Now, Steve, how are you?
I'm good. How about you? I didn't realize you were such a fountain of knowledge when it comes to boxing. When did you become so learned about boxing?
I've been a boxing buff since I was a kid, and you know that without talks when I see you. You know that.
I'm just trying to make you look good.
Thank you. I love the sport. I know you do too, and that's why I'm bringing you on. And then you're going to talk NFL with my colleague Tom in a moment because he's an NFL. He's a buff. He loves the NFL. But Steve is, Steve Serby knows boxing. This is why I got him on. We talk, we text each other, and he likes to compare who would win this fight over this guy, putting two guys together. And I try and do the best I can with it at spur of the moment, and he respects my knowledge. So I figured, let me bring him on. First of all, Steve, let me ask you this. What is your history with the sport? Why you obviously know the sport. You love boxing.
Yeah, when I was a kid, the guy that I really idolized was Floyd Patterson. I loved Floyd Patterson. And I was devastated the night that Sonny Liston knocked him out for the second time in the first on my birthday, 2 minutes and 10 seconds, 4 seconds longer than the first Patterson Liston fight. And ever since then, and look, in the 60s and 70s, that was the golden age of heavyweight boxing. And
yes, it was.
Loved watching the heavyweights. And my dream matchup, and I ask people that know boxing all the time, is Sonny Liston versus George Foreman, the younger George Foreman. And I like Liston in that, but I think you like Foreman, no?
Yeah, I did, because Foreman was the puncher, the big right, and it's very hard to avoid that. He was, heavyweights that have power like that. You have to admire that. And that's why I always loved George Foreman. Liston, on the other hand, look, he could take a punch. He could give a punch, but we're not going to Foreman punch, though.
Well, the reason why I would like Liston, I think he's a better boxer, better technically. And do you remember his 2 fights with Cleveland Williams?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't there, obviously, but I know about them, yeah.
Early in both fights, and Cleveland Williams in that first fight hit him with the kitchen sink, staggered him a little bit, bloodied his nose, but Liston came right back and knocked him out. And on the other hand, I go to the Foreman-Ron Lyle fight, where Lyle knocked Foreman down twice. Foreman ended the fight in the 5th round, but showed you that Foreman could be hurt by a heavy hitter, and Liston was a heavy hitter. So I like Liston in that one.
Yeah, but the thing about George Foreman is he got older. The punches were a little harder to take for him. And it's obvious because of his age. He was getting up there in age, a late George Foreman. But you're talking here, Steve, of 2 elite heavyweights in their eras. And in boxing history, they are considered, as we say, pound for pound best.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. Where would you rank among all-time heavyweights Joe Frazier?
Top 5.
I disagree.
Okay, tell me why you disagree.
This is sacrilege, but Joe Frazier, look, great fighter, no doubt about it. One of the all-timers, but he was obviously never the same after the fight of the century.
Yeah.
But if you go back in his history, how many, other than George Foreman, how many really big bangers did he face?
True. At the top of my head, I can't recall, but that's yeah, and I respect that what you just said.
Manuel Ramos staggered him.
I barely remember that. Boy, you got some memory. I barely remember that.
Yeah, Bonavena had him down twice in the first time they met. Frazier won a decision. Then Frazier beat him in a decision the second time. Even Ron Stander shook him a little bit.
That I remember. Yeah.
And when Frazier came back from his beating against Foreman, they matched him up with Joe Bugner, who is not a heavy hitter.
Right.
Frazier beat Jerry Quarry twice. Quarry could hit a little bit, but not a major heavy hitter. Buster Mathis, not a great hitter. So my point is, I think Frazier might have lost to Ernie Shavers if he fought him. because Frazier was a slow starter, and Shavers could have nailed him early.
Have you always, Steve? Have you always looked at matching fighters from one era to another? And you know how I feel about that. I never like doing that. And fans love doing that. They like to compare one fighter from one era to another, and I never did. But my all-time best and greatest heavyweight was Rocky Marciano, and to me, still, there's a debate about him and Muhammad Ali. But 49-0, and Jersey Joe Walcott he faced, and Joe Louis and stuff, different era. That's what I'm talking about. But The Rock was my guy.
Yeah, well, but the problem was he was 184 pounds. He would have been, match him up against some of the giants over later on, and he'd have a tough time with all of them. I think he would have been made for Foreman. He would have been made for Liston. Tyson might have been too big for him. Look, The Rock was The Rock. You're right. He was undefeated. He was a great heavyweight, but 184 pounds, I don't think that would have enabled him to fare very well against some of those bigger heavyweight, even a Lennox Lewis, who was not the same great fighter that Marciano is.
Yeah, and my opinion on Lennox Lewis, to me, yeah, great champion and all that, but I don't look at him as a top 10 heavyweight of all time. I don't.
No,
I don't.
I'm not saying he is, but that's styles make fights, Rich. You know that, and that's a bad style of matchup for.
You want to write? You know what, Steve? You want to shift from writing about football, and you're good at that. We'll talk about that in a moment. You should write boxing, and you're a great historian. You know history. You're good.
Well, I know heavyweight history. I know more than anything.
So in other words, the other divisions you're not so much. What about that '80s era with Hagler, Hearn, Duran, Leonard? That was a great time for boxing. The '80s period.
Oh, Hagler.
What about those guys?
Yeah, the Hagler-Hearns fight was that first round was one of the all-time greatest rounds in boxing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I might have asked you this. Did I ask you a Hagler-Monzon matchup? Who you like?
I think you did, and I might have not, because you go over so much when you're with me. With fights of this guy, that guy, I don't remember.
Well,
but
who would you like?
Hagler, who would win that fight?
Yeah,
Hagler.
Why?
I think Hagler just had more of a proficiency of going in, and he could use that footwork. He had that ability, and I think that would do it. And Monzon would come back. I mean, he could take a punch and give one back. Hagler could take a punch, but I think Hagler had more of that power and style. And that fight that would probably be a bloodbath. I think you see a lot of blood sprawl around in that. But I also think that fight would go the route. I don't think you would see a winner by knockout there. I think that would go the distance, and a fight that boxing would, that's something you'd remember. Yeah.
Could anybody have beaten Sugar Ray Robinson?
Sugar Ray Robinson was, of course, way before my time. What I know and watched would know. Look, to many, and we're talking pound for pound. He's the guy that originated pound for pound best. That was him. He's the one that did that. He said we have to determine who the best is, and he said that, and it was a reason, because he used to beat everyone. So I don't know if anybody could have beat him.
I agree. I don't know if anybody could have either. Let me give you another matchup. All right, you ready?
Go ahead.
Heavyweights. Henry Cooper versus Chuck Wepner.
The Bayonne Bleeder. Wepner. Yeah. Well, I think we'll be stopped because of cuts.
Yeah, on both of them.
Yeah, it could be, technicality. Back then, of course, they didn't go to the scorecards when a fight was stopped because of that, but now they do that. The fight doesn't go past 6 rounds and it has to be stopped because of a stop by cuts. That would be a bloodbath. So I don't know who would win that, but I want to go back to some of those the eras that you know, and throw a couple of them over. We go over this. I want the fans to know what we do when we're up in the press box together from sometimes. Go ahead, throw them out.
You want? All right. Well,
yeah.
Joe Frazier, Larry Holmes.
Joe Frazier, Larry Holmes. All right, there. As I said, Frazier top 5, and Holmes could very well be in that time of a top 5 among the heavyweights, not pound for pound best. I look at this fight. That would be an interesting 12-round battle, and goes to the scorecards, and I could see Frazier winning by narrow decision.
Yeah, the Frazier prior to the fight of the century.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah. How about George Chuvalo, Ernie Shavers?
Chuvalo, Shavers, 2 good punchers. What happens, Steve, when 2 good punchers get in the middle of the ring? What happens?
I don't know. What happens? I think Shavers was a better puncher.
Well, when 2 good punchers go at it, what happens is either one of them could get knocked down to the mat.
Yep. Shavers was a better puncher, but Chuvalo took a much better punch.
Right, but if you remember, too, that Chuvalo used to get cut also. And if you remember back then, cuts were more prevalent in the sport than they are now because they know how to stop cuts easier today. So you don't have as much of that.
I like Chuvalo in that fight because, A, he takes a good punch, and B, Shavers had a history of tiring out. And I think Chuvalo would go to the body and possibly knock him out late.
Interesting. All right. How about this one? We go back and forth. That's Steve Serby, columnist for the New York Post, longtime colleague of mine. Writes about the NFL, but knows his boxing. He loves to compare fighters, what we're doing right now over the past. Everyone asks me this. Everyone. I always get this. Then they ask, and you probably heard it too. If you get a matchup with Tyson and Marciano, heavyweights. Now, everyone knows I'm going to say the Rocky Marciano. All right? But here's the thing that I don't like. 2 different eras, 2 different type of fighters, 2 different type of heavyweights. Who would you pick in a fight like that?
Tyson. He's too big.
He's got the bull.
He's got 30 pounds on Marciano.
Yeah, but what if you can't? What if The Rock was able to manage to get his right in there or his left, because he was great with that. He can do uppercut, he can go inside, whatever he had to do. What if he did that to Iron Mike?
But he'd have to come in. He'd have to come in because of his short arms, and Tyson had too much power. The young Tiger Tyson, the young vintage Tyson would have been.
Did you ever meet Mike Tyson in your travels or write about him? Because I know he's been around the NFL a lot. Have you ever met him?
I had dinner with him.
Tell us about that. What did you think of him?
Well, we went to, I can't remember what year it was. We went to a place in Manhattan called the Lance Club. Probably more of a steak place than anything else. And I sat next to him, and he was very nice, very polite, very insightful, very knowledgeable about boxing. At that time, he was a vegetarian, and as everybody else around the table was eating steak, me included, he ordered a salad and a boiled potato. Found that hard to believe, but
yeah.
But anyway, look, Iron Mike, before he began his decline, I think would have been physically too much for The Rock. And
Okay.
The Rock would cut too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But not as much. Not as much. Well, then we'll give him. Tyson didn't cut that much either.
No,
You
no,
know? No.
not the
You
young
know.
Tyson. I think the young
Yeah.
Tyson. How do you think Tyson would have fared against George Foreman?
I never looked at that, and that's interesting. That's real interesting. I think both. Here you go, two powerful heavyweights. Both of them have power with their punch and their ability to knock each other one out. I think whoever got the punch in at the right time, wherever it could be. That's a tough one to pick. I don't know what fans would think of that, but I'd have a very tough one to pick. Man, let me bring in Tommy D, my esteemed colleagues and helps and co-host here on Keep It in the Ring. Tom's, come on in. Join the discussion. That's Steve Serby. Serb, that's Tom.
Hey,
Tommy
Tom.
D.
How you doing, Steve? How's everything?
Tom, did you just hear that? Who would win a fight like that, in your opinion?
Between Foreman and Tyson?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I think you never like to say that fighters are scared, right? Because they're fighters. But Tyson won a lot of his fights before the match even started because fighters were intimidated by him. And I don't think George would be intimidated by Mike. I think George would be a little bit aggressive. But I do feel what you're saying. I think whoever lands the right punch at the right moment could get the guy out of there. But Foreman had a good decent chin. I know you guys were talking earlier that he's been hurt and stumbled, but he's never really been knocked out. So that to me that's a good chin. There's plenty of guys that's been dropped, but they get right back up. So to me that's equivalent to a good beard. So I think I would favor Big George over Mike.
Okay. Well,
let me ask Tom about what about Foreman Liston?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I think Liston in his prime would give Foreman problems, and Liston had a history of I mean not taking dives, but he was in the bed with the mob, I guess, and so I don't know, but I think a Liston that's clean and focused. I think Liston beats George. I like that matchup. That's interesting because he can move, he can box a little bit too, and he had pop. And Foreman, like you said earlier, he's been dropped. He's been hurt before. I think Liston would have found a way to finish him.
Serby, Steve, there's your guy. You don't need me no more. You got Tommy. You got Thomas now, not me. You got him, not me. He's the expert, not me. Yes, Steve.
Another reason I would favor Liston and Foreman was because Liston would not have been intimidated by Foreman because he was not intimidated by anybody.
Yeah.
Foreman would not have had that psychological edge.
Yeah.
Down Liston at the weigh-in.
No, absolutely. I agree with that.
All right, listen, I'm running out of time. Yeah. I want to talk NFL. We're a boxing show, but that doesn't mean we can't deviate once in a while. Steve, Tom's a big NFL fan. I am too, but I don't study it like you guys do.
We can have the best of both worlds. We could talk about Mark Gastineau's boxing career.
Yeah, that too. I'm glad we go to that in a few minutes because I got to run. Have a lot more to do here. Steve, Mark Gastineau, one of those guys that tried boxing. We talk NFL guys that went into boxing. Gastineau, Too Tall Jones, all right? We're seeing more and more of it, not as much as it was, but what do you make of all that? These guys that turn into – why would they go into a sport? Why did they want to try that? You knew Gastineau well, Mark Gastineau. Why would he decide, I got to put the gloves on now?
He wanted to make a lot of money. He was what was that? Was it Parker? Rick Parker, was that his manager?
Yeah.
Gastineau became, the idea was for him to be the next great white hope. And they put him up against a bunch of tomato cans who some of them who took dives, and they wanted Gastineau to build up enough equity in the ring to fight George Foreman and get his payday, and then he could have quit boxing after that.
All right, you knew what was his comments to you after all that? Because I know you and him had a good rapport.
Oh no, we did at one time when he played with the Jets, but we no longer that ship sailed a long time ago for reasons
So
that
one of those, one of
I'd rather
those,
not
one of those.
rather not
All
get
right,
into.
that's fine. We'll do it another time. All right, Tom.
You,
Tom
you
is in
remember,
the.
you remember Alonzo? You remember Alonzo Highsmith?
Yes.
He
What's
knocked
that?
Gaston cold.
Were you smiling about that?
No, I was laughing. It was comical actually.
Yeah. No, there is a history of ex-NFL stars that have gone into the ring, haven't done too well with it. Tom, it's your turn. Ask Steve anything about the NFL, real brief. Steve, Jets, Giants, New York, all around the draft. Go ahead, Tom. That's your expert with the NFL right there.
I got a lot of questions, but let's go recent. They just did the vote yesterday. What's your feeling on the vote about the tush push or the push tush, whatever they call it?
I'm glad they banned it. I subscribe to the school that tough luck if you can't stop it. If you can't stop it, the Detroit Lions voted to keep it because they welcome. They're not afraid of push.
Yeah.
So figure out a way to stop it. That's all you got to do.
Exactly. I agree with you 1,000%. I was just curious because it's like I think these rule changes that they made in baseball too is another sport where they made a change about the shift. I mean, listen, if you can't beat the shift, learn to hit the other way, right? The same thing, the tush push. You got to learn how to stop it. I know the offensive line has the advantage because they know the snap count. They're first off the line technically with half a second, whatever the time is. But still, you have to learn how to stop it. And guess what? Other teams can do it too. So I mean, well, it's not anybody's fault that the Eagles have perfected it or use it better than anybody else.
I agree 100%. Absolutely. Yep. What else? What else did you want to ask, Tom?
Oh no, I figured. I mean, I'm a Seahawk fan, so I know I'm born and raised in the Bronx, but I'm a Seattle Seahawk fan. What do you think about the Seahawks move in their draft?
Well, you're the fan. What do you think of Sam Darnold as your quarterback?
I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, I know why they did it. They didn't want to really pay Geno all that money. I think he was due money, but they paid Sam. But we know NFL contracts are not guaranteed, and then it would hurt them in the cap, I believe. So I'm not too happy about it, but I understand the move. But I did like that they drafted the kid from Alabama in the draft because I like him a lot. So that's the future. I wonder if they're going to give him a shot to start. I doubt it because remember when Russell Wilson came in, the Seattle had just signed Matt Flynn, and they signed him to a big contract, and then Russell Wilson beat him out for the job, and we already know the history with that. So
he's a big boxing fan, by the way. He's a big boxing fan. But why don't you just take over, Steve? Tom's going to have you on his show, so I'm going to make sure that he gets you'll exchange numbers. He's going to want you on. He has a show, and he's going to want you on. So I'll make. Steve, this is really great, but when we're done with one other thing, every guest on this program must go through a fact of the week with Rich Mancuso with boxing. Are you ready? Fact of the week. Right. It's not trivia. Tom, put it up.
Fact of the week.
The fact of the week. Here we go. All right, Steve, remember, it's a fact, not trivia. This guy won his first 87 bouts in his career, but he was never knocked down until his 91st fight. He won 108 fights in his career. Mexican. 87 bouts in his career. He first 87 wasn't knocked down until the 91st. And he had 108 wins. A Mexican. Icon. Legend. Tom, you probably got it right away.
Yeah.
Huh?
I think it's
Chavez?
You got it. Julio Cesar Chavez. You got the fact of the week, Steve. Congratulations. You're getting nothing for it.
Let me tell you, Steve, the facts of the week have been getting easier and easier each week. In the beginning, when I started doing this, I couldn't get one, not even close right. It's getting easier and easier. So
Well, thanks for giving me a softball. I appreciate it.
Steve Serby, longtime columnist, sports columnist of the New York Post. He excels in the NFL. Read him there. And but he's also a great boxing. He knows his boxing and he knows the history. And I enjoy it all the time when I'm with him. We go one-on-one. Who's going to win against who? We just did a little bit here. Hey, my friend, enjoy the rest of your off season. When are you going back to Jets or Giant camps with these OTAs right now?
Next week, I believe the Giants have one next week. I'll be.
Yeah. Why don't you do this, Steve? Get back to work, will you?
Okay. I'll do this. Sorry for the interruption.
Thanks, my friend. Keep it in the ring. I'll see you soon, all right? We'll stay in touch.
All right.
And Tom will be in touch with you as well and have you on his program, all right?
Tom, call me anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Steve. I will do that. I got a good channel. We'll talk.
All
Okay.
right. That's Steve Serby. Thank you, Steve. It was great to have him. That was great. Thank you all for tuning in on that. Tom, let's take a brief timeout, come back. Pro Wrestling, Robbie Rebel, the Rebel Ramp waiting, and much more. Keep it in the ring. I'm Rich Mancuso, live on my YouTube channel. And get me on my social media. Scroll at the bottom of the screen. Shrimp Punk Entertainment. Like the Facebook page. Keep it in the ring. AGT Network as well. Back in a moment. Just keep it in the ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Stay with us.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
We're back with Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, String Punk Entertainment, AGT Network. Like the Facebook page, Keep It in the Ring. All right, pro wrestling time. And right now, before I go into the news and analysis, let me bring him on. He's waiting patiently because he got to go to bed early. He always does. It's Rebel Rant time. There he is, Robbie Rebel. Hello, Robbie.
Thank you, Rich, for making me wait like constantly.
I know. Well, what can I tell you? I'm a busy guy.
You're busy enough to just keep not coming to me in these shows. What's the deal?
Well, I got you on right after the break. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when you said you're going to bring me down to the ring. You never want to bring me down to the ring. And why do you think I'm always mad every time I come here?
Well, I will. It's coming. When? What are we going to do it? When's the next one? Throw the dates out. Promote yourself.
So there's going to be one this Saturday, which is for H&W Wrestling or something like that. Here and Now, these guys, they're brand new. They just had to last minute get me on there.
Where is the show?
This one's going to be in Nesconset in Long Island.
Well, I can't go to that. Saturday night, I got Mets Dodgers. I can't do it.
Something going on, you busy man.
All right, so
I believe we have one in June 7th.
That one I'm going to go to with you, but I can't walk you in the ring that night, though.
Let's discuss something.
All right, we'll talk about it.
I'm also going to be in Southold in Long Island as well.
All right, so you're busy, man. You are busy. I'm glad to see you getting all the work, but you're an upcoming pro wrestling star, so that's expected. All right, Robbie Rebel, the Rebel Rant, it's all yours. Go ahead. What do you got?
Thank you, everybody, for joining me at the Rebel Rant. My name is Robbie Rebel, and this is the place where we ponder and pontificate the problematic perplexities plaguing the professional wrestling business today. You could find me on The Real Robbie Rebel on Instagram, and then you could also find me on Facebook. Just look for the man in the top hat, and he'll definitely add you back. One quick disclaimer before we even start. This whole segment has nothing to do with Rich Mancuso or Keep It in the Ring personally. This is all my stuff. This is all my opinions. And if you got a problem with that, this would be your face. And then, can you see that? There we go. This would be your face, and that would be your skull right after I would give a crap about anyway. So if you really want to get the back of your skull cracked open, then just fight me on it, because it's going to be nothing but a cup of coffee by the end of the day. So today I'm going to talk about.
Well, why must you stop why must you stop and drink something? I don't do that though on the program. What's in that bottle?
Well, it can't be anything that I would really like for like an adult beverage because I got to get up early, just like you said. But what I want to talk about today is about people who are afraid to get into the ring with other people because of problems with it. I mean, I just had one person ask me to share something on him, and he calls himself Road Warrior status. His name is Cade Lothbrock. But the point of the matter of fact is that when you can't get into the wrestling ring with somebody because you're afraid you're going to get hurt, then you shouldn't even be in this business. You're bad for business. You're not tough, and you just got to stay out of the ring at this point. In boxing, when people say, "Oh, I don't want to fight this guy because the money's not right," that's a little bit of a better idea. But we're all on indie shows right here. We're not getting $1 million per punch. You go right over down that way, and if you want to get in the ring and you want to get your $50 on a hot dog and a handshake, by all means get it and work your ass up to a better spot within a different company that has contracts. If you can't get in the ring because you're afraid someone's going to hurt you, unfortunately, just like I said, you will end up like this. Broken skull. Not to quote a certain person who drinks beer and kicks his boss in the gut, but I'm not going to get into that. So if you're not going to be able to get into a ring with somebody because you're afraid, unfortunately, this stuff is not for you. If you can't do it, I don't want you in this business. You're not good for business. People in the crowd are going to think that you're a wuss. And the funny part is this guy that he was talking about was a champion. What type of champion is just going to back out of something? I got my teeth kicked in on a greenhorn, and I'm a champion now. Almost 1,000 days for ECPW Long Island, and that's a huge record to hold a championship for 1,000 days. But if you can't get into it and you have a problem because you're afraid someone's going to hurt you, then get the hell out of this business. There's no point for you being in here, and that's a matter of fact.
Okay. Where are your championship belts, Robbie? I don't see them. Where are they?
They're up, and they are hanging right on the wall.
Okay.
You can't see the wall from right here because I'm not going to show it to you. You got to come actually to the ring with me if you want to hold the gold, Rich. I will. Okay. What else do you have to rant about? Because tell you the truth right now, you're not making me any what can I say? Go ahead. How many times do I have to repeat myself? The whole point of this rant that I was going off at is if you're going to wuss out and you call yourself a champion, then get the hell out of this ring because no one wants to watch you if you're not going to fight. Yes, we're entertainers. Yes, we do things that are crazy and we do flips. We take bumps. But the whole point of it is that if you're afraid to do it, because you don't want to do business with someone knowing that it's going to make money, then get the hell out of here. If you're going to be buddy-buddy with the promoter and start crying and think that you're Hulk Hogan, which you would be the first person to complain about, then by all means, go and do it in some drama club. Go back to high school or community college and start doing something like that. You might make something out of yourself at that point, but if you want to stick in the professional wrestling business, grow a pair. All right? Grow.
Oh, yeah.
I have no problem working anybody. And even if they got a habit of hurting somebody, I know how to save my own ass. I got enough big arms for it. I can take them down if I have to stop them. But if you can't do that.
Who are you trying to stop next? That's what we want to know.
Well, Saturday might be a surprise. It might not. I'm going to support a couple of people. And I don't know who I'm going to work. Oh, there we go. CCW right there. That's me coming out. Unfortunately, last time on the Rebel Rant in front of Jason Knight, you guys pulled up all those stuff and you made me look like a fool in front of someone that I have known for a long time and I'm trying to impress.
Well,
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a cup of coffee now.
All right. You got impressed. You look impressive there. Go ahead. You got another minute. Go ahead.
I got nothing to say. The man tossed me up, but I wasn't afraid. I still got in the ring with Rage, and Rage could bench press almost 500 pounds.
You might have taken a little too many bumps, I think.
Probably right on top of the head, but that's a whole another broken skull joke.
All right, Robbie, where do the Rebel rant here on the program every week? My goodness, Robbie, where do fans reach you? You've got a lot of supporters on this program. I keep telling you that. Where do they reach you?
Just like I said before, you could reach me on Instagram at The Real Robbie Rebel, or on Facebook. You look for the man in the top hat, and he'll be happy to grab you. I say this every time, and you always get confused on everything that I'm saying, and you're like, I don't know what you're saying. Rich, I love you to death, but maybe you should listen. You were talking to your boy beforehand. You had no problem listening to what he had to say.
And I listened to you too.
One ear and out the other.
I'm sorry. I think I listened to you carefully. I could very easily knock myself off screen and just let you know I'm doing something else. Like right now, I'm going to say goodbye and keep it in the ring till next week.
Well, then everyone, you keep it in the ring and keep watching Rich Mancuso, even though he doesn't listen to me and he just lets me get all my grievances out of here. You know what? This is good therapy. I'll tell you that, because it's made my love for wrestling so much more.
Thank you, Anthony Bolton. He says, a matter of fact, Jack.
As a matter of fact, I like that.
Keep it in the ring, Robbie. Thank you. That's the Rebel Rant on the program every week. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Have a good night, Rich.
You too. Have a good rest. I know it's past your bedtime. That's why you're aggravated.
Up at 4 a.m. You have a good night.
All right, Tom. You keep roll this up with let's go to brief wrestling news. To the Rebel Rant, I don't know what to say anymore. Anyway, congratulations to Darby Allin. ADW completed his quest to climb the top of Mount Everest, and he also cemented the AEW logo, the flag, at the top of Mount Everest. He credits Diamond Dallas Page, EDP, for helping him get there. All right, Double or Nothing AEW pay-per-view this weekend. That's Sunday night. Payperview.com is one of the outlets you can get it. And look, I think this one should be good one. You know, AEW, just their storylines, they keep telling you, going all over the place. By the way, Darby Allin will return, he says, in the summer to the ring. The finals of the Owen Hart Tournament Cup, the women and the men, that will take place. Double or Nothing is going to have the Owen Hart Men's Foundation Cup finals with Ospreay and Hangman Page. Two good guys. One of them is definitely going to turn on the other. They've been friends for years. Ricochet Ricochet is on this, I believe. He's got Briscoe, and it's in a stretcher match. That should be good. The Women's Cup, Mercedes and Jamie Hayter. The tag team is, I believe it's the tag team titles. Yeah, the Hurt Syndicate. Now with MJF, Lashley and Benjamin against the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guerrero. You know, I'm looking forward to see what MJF gets involved with that now. I'm pretty sure that they'll turn on MJF before long there. The women's title, and my favorite, Toni Storm against Sarika, and Dexter, FTA Wheeler, and Harwood against Garcia and McGuinness coming out of retirement. Jim Ross, good luck and best wishes to him. Revealed that he has stage 4 colon cancer. We wish the best for the legendary great Jim Ross. And also on AEW update, it's going to be that Arnicky in the arena. Moxley and his henchmen with Strickland and Samoa Joe, and that's going to be a madhouse. They showed some preliminary parts of that on Dynamite last night. But AEW Double for Nothing looks like a good one Sunday night, payperview.com. Saturday night main event, WWE. That's Saturday night. 4 good matches in Tampa, Florida. By the way, before we get to that, WrestleMania announced today is not returning, not going to New Orleans next year. Next year, probably returning to Las Vegas, the site of it this year. Reasons unknown why, but that was officially announced by WWE today and by the people in New Orleans. And we really don't know what's behind all that. We'll try and find out more. We take a look at Saturday's main event. Saturday night on NBC and Peacock. And let's take a look, run down some of them. Tom, put the graphics up so I know what I'm talking about here. There. Cena and R-Truth. It's just a match to just keep Cena's retirement to going. It's not for the title. R-Truth is he loves John Cena. So we'll see where this goes. To me, this is a throwaway waste match to just keep Cena in the mix. Cena's next viable, I really don't know where they're going with John Cena next. Well, he'll be the champ, though. Turn good again, though, probably by the end of the year. What we got next, Tom, on Sunday main event, Saturday night? This one, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre in the cage. This is going to be, look, they're going for a trilogy here in wrestling. So this should be good. Sami Zayn and CM Punk against Rollins and Breakker. That's going to be good. Seth Rollins with a new faction. Who's going to be his new member? Could it be Sami Zayn turning and becoming a member of Solid's faction on Saturday Night Main Event? And most of all, we're going to congratulate here. We got to take a look at Damian Priest. Congratulations. Sunday, he was inaugurated. He was honored the Bronx Walk of Fame, meaning he's got to name a street sign in the Bronx. They do this every year in the Bronx. Bronx County Courthouse outside, right by up the block from Yankee Stadium. Kemba Walker, former NBA player, All-Star, also inducted. Damian Priest has his own street name. He's from the Bronx, not far from where I am. And there he is with the Bronx Borough President Gibson, and there's his name. Congratulations to Damian Priest, real name Luis Martinez, from the Bronx, now has a street named in his honor in the Bronx Walk of Fame. Congratulations to Damian Priest. All right, let's brief timeout, then wrap it all up with nostalgia. I'm Rich Mancuso. Keep it in the ring. Stay with us. Back in a moment.
Petwell Clinic was built with busy pet parents like you in mind, providing walk-in preventative vet care, treatment for minor ailments, and chronic condition management. You remain with your pet throughout their visit, and all charges are clearly explained, so there are no surprises at checkout. Just walk in to our Paramus, Greenbrook, or Union locations, or visit us at petwellclinic.com for more information.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
I think we got to go 2 hours on this show now every week because we're going over again this week. But thanks to Star Churston, Stream Punk Entertainment every week, who is able to put this on for us and helps us along, me and Tommy D. All right, some MMA news real quick. Former Bellator bantamweight champ Patchy Mix, exclusive deal now with the UFC. His debut against Mario Batista, UFC 316, June 7th. Mix is not 29-1, two-time defending Bellator champ. Batista, big win against a former featherweight champ, Jose Aldo. All right, so more UFC on this program. I know I have some fans that want to hear more about that. I would like to R-Truth to win the title, then lose it on Monday Night Raw. That's not going to happen, Michael, because that's a non-title. But yeah, kind of. That would have been nice, but it's not going to happen. Thanks for your comment. Nostalgia time on the program. We do it every week. Let's first pay our attention to May 26, 1965. Muhammad Ali, of course, the great Ali, the Hall of Famer, heavyweight champ, knocked out Sonny Liston. We talked about Liston just a little while ago with our friend Steve Serby on the program. The first round in the Central Maine Civic Center in Lewiston, Maine. This after unseating Liston to win the championship in February of 1964. The referee then, the great Hall of Famer, heavyweight Jersey Joe Walcott, who could counted out Liston after a short right and a punch that was hard to see. So that goes back in history, May 26, 1965, with the great Muhammad Ali. Then we go to May 22nd. 1993, not too long ago. Roy Jones Jr., another Hall of Famer, defeats the other Hall of Famer here, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins, unanimous decision for the vacant IBF middleweight title in the RFK Stadium, Washington, D.C., that no longer exists down there. He wore his first world title fight for both. Jones, a 4-division champion in boxing history. Hopkins, the longest reigning middleweight champ and 3-time light heavyweight title holder. That was a good one. Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr., two great fighters of the past, still with us and still very active in the sport. May 22nd, 1993. 3. That's the nostalgia bag for this week. We do it every week on Keep It in the Ring. All right, Thomas, come on in as we wrap this all up. And thanks to Serby once again for being on the program. Great going back with some of the fights he wanted to see and going some NFL with you. That was great because Robbie Rebel is always with the rant. God knows what the heck he says, but he says it here every week, doesn't he, Tom?
Oh, that was the best.
So, look, we have another week of boxing, really. There's nothing major. The fights are being scrolled at the bottom of your screen. You do have a program, though, that comes on when the fans see you again with a sports show.
Well, this Friday night, we'll go over sports talk. Friday night sports talk, mostly boxing. Not much going on in other sports. We had the Yankees and Mets last weekend. Football news is not much going on right now, except the tush push rule was, it wasn't banned. They voted to keep it. Yeah. So, we talk Friday night, but I'll tell you one thing, we do have a couple new shows that I've been doing, and I have meshed with a couple other content creators. So we have one where it's ring conversations. Well, each week I try to have a professional on. Last week we did an interview and spoke to Ishe Smith, former super welterweight champion of the world. He was on the Contender Series. He was on we basically talk about current events of boxing. And then we have a new show called Tales from the B-Side. So stay tuned for that one. Last week, we just did like an opening, kind of like a pilot, if you want to say. And we're going to have fighters on or managers, coaches, whatever you want to, that's been the B-side of fights and tell us their stories. So this week,
that sounds good. I got to tune in. I hope you all do as well.
This one,
great job, Tom.
Of course, I'm here to. Michael Fox, who just fought this past weekend against Boacek. He's got an interesting story. They changed the weight on him during the week from 154 to 160. So stay tuned for that one. Gotta watch that. Keep me tuned on that. And if you need my help, I'm always here to help you like you help me. Great job as always every week. And now next week you'll be hosting again by yourself. You'll be here. I have to do what I got to do, and you're taking over next week, and you're going to have an interesting hour or more, and you're going to line up Wayman Guadaro, the scientist, the FDNY firefighter, who's a pro fighter as well. After a year now, it's that ban has been lifted because FDNY fighters are not allowed to, that are pro fighters can't do that for a year once they get on the force. And he's going to be your guest. He has a fight coming up in 2 weeks. You're going to talk to him about that and a lot of other things. So, I know you do a good job. That's why I leave it in your hands. Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait for that. We'll have an interesting convo. Just get his perspective on what's going on in the sport, and then he'll talk about his upcoming fight.
Good. And then in 2 weeks, and I come back with you, we'll center in on what's going to become a very interesting June and July in the sport of boxing. Tommy D, thank you, my friend. Thank you all for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. I really appreciate it if you would do that. String Punk Entertainment, AGT Network, like the Facebook Keep It in the Ring page. Reach me on social media, X, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso on Instagram. Leave my content on LatinoSports.com, as you always do, and so many other outlets. I want you all to be good to each other. Stay well. God bless. And as I always say each and every week to end the program, Tom,
I got to stop you. We got one more thing you got to cover.
What?
We got to rest in peace to a world-class.
Oh, player. Yes. I totally forgot.
We have to.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Tom, that's why I got you. But we need to do this. And it's here right in front of me. Rest in peace, the great Nino Benvenuti, the Olympic gold 1968 60 medalist, passed away, 86 years of age the other day. Champion, 2 weight classes, world super welterweight, lightweight champ, 1965, and as a middleweight defeated Emil Griffith in Madison Square Garden, 1967. They fought 3 times, a loss and a won again for the great Nino Benvenuti. Rest in peace. We lost another great one in the sport at 86 years of age. Hey, Tom, thanks for reminding me about that. I totally bypassed that with so much going on. That's why I got you, my friend. But for now, again, be good to each other. God bless. Stay well. And as always,
keep it in the ring.
Keep it in the ring, my friends. See Tom next week. I'll be back with you in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Good night.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still